So if electricity's going up for these guys that are using a lot of electricity through their processing, it's going to hit everyone else in the supply chain. So the electricity issue is not resolved in this country. We're going to start seeing bigger problems in our network and our grid. And what this will also do is put a lot of unskilled workers at risk.
Yeah, definitely. What we'll do now, we'll move on to the next topic. This is actually one I've been looking forward to listening about, is that things are getting worse for food production as food producers are now saying they can't keep prices down due to high energy prices. So where do you see this space going?
Mate, this is bad. So one of the lunches that I was at, or afternoon, it was actually it was a drinks, a more afternoon drinks thing that the guest speaker was one of the largest snack food producers in Australia. I can't remember which one it was, but they produce a lot of like chips and stuff, and they have big deep fryers and all that sort of stuff. All the really good stuff, like, you know, good healthy food, guys. Their energy bills have doubled in the last quarter. Plus, they're being told at some of their factories to not run night shift because there's not enough electricity in the grid. So it means they've got to push harder during the day. What this guy said, he was the operations manager, I think. He said the management of the company are now thinking that, well, if Australia gets any dearer with its energy, and it starts to make it harder and harder to get energy, you know, like the government, you've got the Australian energy regulator reaching out to these guys to say, don't run a night shift because we'll have blackouts. This is happening now, people, right now, today. Right. What this is actually going to lead to is other producers shutting down as well, because they'll just go, enough's enough, right? We'll then start, what will happen is all this stuff, and look, this in hindsight, it could be a good thing for these guys, you know, because we'll have to import it, and then a lot of people won't buy it, so it'll be better on their health system. But it doesn't matter. It's a free economy. You can eat what you want, you can drink what you want, and you can do what you want when it comes in this space. But to be told that you have to stop production because we don't have enough electricity, that should be a massive warning sign to everyone. To have electricity double. So I think I mentioned this on here before. There was a foundry in South Australia that's got the same problem, that they're looking at shutting up shop because energy prices are just too hard and they can't buy it in the market as they want. Now we've got food producers. Fair enough, it's at the heavy processed end, but even when we get to the other side, fresh produce needs to be cold stored, snap frozen. It needs to be processed, packed, held and shipped. So if electricity is going up for these guys that are using a lot of electricity through their processing, it's going to hit everyone else in the supply chain. So the electricity issue is not resolved in this country. We're going to start seeing bigger problems in our network and our grid. And what this will also do is put a lot of unskilled workers at risk. The lowest end of our skilled are normally people that work in these type of factories, right? They work long shifts, they get paid minimum wage, and a lot of them can't be reskilled. They're migrants that don't have education levels, don't speak good English or English well enough to progress up the chain. So we're going to have problems here going forward. And what worries me is that if we lose our sovereign capability to make a packet of chips, we're going to lose a lot more. So we're going to be at the mercy of the importers. We're going to be at the mercy of the big factories in Asia that supply this stuff. And pretty much if they don't like what's happening, they'll just turn us off. You know, and that is something that that scares the shit out of me, because we don't have a sovereign capability to produce a lot of this stuff now, because we're frittering it away because of stupidity in energy policy.
So do you think, like, if you're mentioning electricity bills are going to double, do you think that will just affect the food production industry, or do you think it'll carry across into other businesses?
No, it'll affect everyone. So the major retailers are actually trying not to push onto onto retail consumers because of political pressure. But at some point, the breaking strain is going to happen, and we already know in the budget they're predicting that the energy prices are going to double. Energy is going up by 56%. They said, but that might as well double. So we know that that's already in the budget. So if they're saying that in the budget, expect it to be a lot worse than that. And the problem is not just here in Australia, but the whole modern world is built on cheap, reliable, dense energy, right? The Industrial Revolution was built on coal and steam, right? It wasn't built on sunshine and wind. Meanwhile, wind power has been around a lot longer than coal power. You know, the Dutch had windmills, right? A lot of indigenous communities had some form of windmill as well. You know, the Mayans had wind-powered watermills, right? Some of the older Aboriginal communities throughout Asia had wind power. So wind power has been around a long time. So why didn't it become a dominant power in electricity generation and in industrial use? Because it's not dense enough. And if the wind doesn't blow, you don't have it, right? So you got to pick your times. And that's why if you have a look at Holland got rid of most of their windmills, you know, and replaced them by steam pumps to keep pumping out the lakes and that, because the windmills just weren't reliable enough when you got this new technology that runs on coal. Or in the early days, it was running on timber, but then they run out of timber. And Europe's going back to timber. How fucking stupid. Which is another dense, bad resource.
That's really interesting, because all that really shows you that the cost of living is not just going to affect the everyday mom or dad, it's also going to affect business owners. I guess that's the part I find most interesting, and it's really important to prepare for that. So
we're renewing, we're looking at that in our businesses. Like, I've got a meeting with the board of one of my companies tomorrow, and that's the number one topic on the board paper. How do we make sure that we have the energy needed to keep the company going if energy goes through the roof? And we're not a very large user of energy. We're not a smelter, or we're not anything like that. But energy is critical to our operation. Cheap, reliable energy, electricity, is required for our operation. So we're heavily looking at ways of you know, diversifying.
So did you have any ideas of the solution you'll be talking about on that?
So we've got two. One is increasing the solar array on our rooftop and putting battery into it, so we can store it and use it and phase shift it and actually make money out of it. The stupid thing is, if we store the energy during the day and then sell it at night, instead of selling it during the day and getting, you know, 8 cents a kilowatt hour for it, we can sell it at night and get 23 cents a kilowatt hour. It's just ridiculous. And we can buy energy during the day at 17 cents a kilowatt. So we're better off buying it during the day and then selling it at night, so we make 5 cents a kilowatt. Those numbers do change, but that's pretty much what the math is looking like on some of the stuff. And the other one is looking at methanol or ammonia production on site, creating our own generation out of those two, because we've got inside my group of companies and my partner's group of companies, we've got all the components to put it together. And this is the other stuff that we look for is, well, if I've got a business over here and I've got a business over here that does something else, how can they sell to each other? How can we keep the money inside my ecosystem going more and more? And that's why we have essential style businesses, and then we can try and solve our own problems.
Well, yeah, it'll be nice to see how that goes, because like all of these cost of living issues are going to be like someone needs to find a solution for that. So it'll be interesting to see how you go with it.